Hey guys, this is Johan, and in this video I'll be showing you how to feed and care for fish that are suffering from swim bladder disease. Alright guys, so my white line trigger is suffering from swim bladder issues. As you can see in this clip, he's swimming normally and just being himself. Now he's unable to swim and hunt and feed himself, so most of the time he's usually hiding in the rockwork and only comes out to get fed or reposition himself. If you guys didn't know, the swim bladder is responsible for allowing the fish to raise and lower itself in the water column. This is done by increasing the amount of oxygen or decreasing the amount of oxygen in the swim bladder. Another function of the swim bladder is to act as a resonance chamber, as it produces and receives sounds kind of like how a sonar works. This works in hand with the lateral line to allow the fish to hear and see where it swims. Most fish with swim bladder issues usually can't swim properly as they are unable to adjust their buoyancy in the water column. Most times you'll see the fish squidding across the bottom, or in some cases upside down at the water surface. Another odd thing you may notice is that the fish may bounce into objects as if he was blind. In most cases, swim bladder problems aren't fatal. As long as the fish is eating healthy, it usually resolves itself. In a quest to find a cause and a cure, I came across 3 different possible causes. 1. A bacterial infection. 2. A constipated fish. Or 3. In my case, a drastic change in water parameters. So my cause was because of a drastic change in water parameters. This happened after simple water change. I usually do a 35 to 40% water change in my 75-gallon tank. On this particular day, I started mixing water on a Sunday, and I usually mix the water within 2 days. But unfortunately, I came down with the flu, so the water stayed mixing for 5 days. Then on the 5th day, I felt a little better, so I went out and did a test salinity. After seeing that the water parameters at 1.00, I went to my LFS to just get some salt mix. I used reef crystals, but on this day they didn't have any, and my order hadn't come in yet, so I just decided to get some instant ocean. I thought, hey, it's the same company and same salt, they just add additives to one and not to the other. So after I only put only 1 cup in, and that equals to 2 gallons in my case, and in a 36-gallon mixing tank I put the 1 cup in. Within an hour and a half or so, the water looked brown. There was a whole bunch of brown particles floating in the water and was stuck to the side of the mixing container. Now if you use reef crystals in the past, or anybody who has experience with reef crystals, they will know that after mixing reef crystal for so long, the particles precipitate out, and that's where the brown residue comes out sometimes. So I thought, hey, it's nothing, I'll just go ahead and add it to the tank. So after a day or so after the water change, everything seemed fine. Fish were happy, corals were still open, and nothing seemed out of the mess. And this is, like I said, something that if you're a customer of reef crystals, if you mix the water for too long, it does happen. So I didn't pay it any mind. I went to work, came back home on the 2nd day after the water change, and I could not find my trigger. He's usually the first one at the corner of the tank looking at me when I come through the door. It's either him or my angel, and I couldn't find my wetland trigger. He just wasn't there. I looked through the tank, and he was hidden behind one of the rockwork on the right side of the tank. The only other thing that gave me indication was the water change was my Clarky Clown. This happened to him a long time ago when I did a bad water change with less for lower salinity, and he had got Popeye. So right then and there, I knew something was wrong with the water change. So in doing some research and trying to find a cure for my fish, I found a few treatments. The only problem is that a lot of the treatments, or just about all of them, were for freshwater fish. And it's like swim bladder problems don't really happen in saltwater tanks. I couldn't find it anywhere, so I just said, let me try what I found and see if they work. So in all the treatments I found, there are only 3 or 4 that I'm willing to try on my fish, and the most popular using green peas. What you do is you boil it and then you feed it to your fish, and in all the stories and videos I've seen, it usually has effect within hours and the fish is usually back to normal. The only problem is my trigger is carnivorous and he doesn't like veggies at all. I tried it a couple times, but he seems to just speed it back out. So what I may have to do is blend it into his food. The second treatment which I tried and I had a little bit more luck with was to raise the temperature. So I took him out and I put him in my quarantine tank, and I raised the temperature to about 90 for a week or so, and it seemed to work. It didn't work fully, but he was able to swim to the top and receive food, but he'd always drop back to the bottom. But that only worked for a week or so, and he just stayed at the bottom after that. So I couldn't keep him in the quarantine too long because I did have another fish in there, and I think it had ick, so I didn't want to risk him getting sick. And also he's quite a big fish, and he's in a 20-gallon tall, and it's only about 12 inches wide, and he's a big fish. He needs some swimming room, even though he doesn't swim that much, but he does from time to time scoot around the bottom, and he needs extra space to swim. The third treatment which I'm willing to try is an Epsom salt bath. This acts as a laxative and allows the fish to pass waste. I have seen it work on freshwater fish, but I am still a little bit hesitant to use it on my fish because this is a different type of salt that I'll be adding to a saltwater fish. So I don't know how his reactions would be. I haven't seen any proper documentation how it's done in saltwater fish, so I have to do proper research before I put my fish under such stress. The fourth treatment which I found and I am currently using is just simply being patient and allowing the fish to recover on its own. As long as the fish is able to maintain his weight and his diet, then the fish will recover eventually. And being patient is something we do in this hobby, so I don't mind just waiting on the fish to recover on its own. So in this next clip, I'll show you how I feed my trigger. So I usually start by thawing some mysis and brine shrimp in a container with some squid and some silicone, and just letting that sit for like 15 minutes. After that, I approach the tank, and if the trigger is out and looking for me, I usually go in the tank and pick him up, as you can see in this clip. I just use a syringe, I suck the mysis shrimp in, and then I give him 1, maybe 2 squirts in his mouth, and then wait for him chew and swallow. And this time you gotta remember to feed your other fish, because if not, they will come get in the way, as you can clearly see. Just being an annoyance. But 1 or 2 pumps, and let him or her just chow down for a little bit and let him eat. And a quick disclaimer, all my fish are accustomed to me handling them, so you have to be careful when you handle your fish because you might stress them out a little bit. So just be careful picking them up. Even now when I pick him up, he still grunts at me and squirms a little bit, so just keep that in mind when you're doing this. Alright guys, that's pretty much how I take care of my white line trigger. I hope you guys liked it and enjoy the rest of the video.